back, and you know who it is. Jack Toledano, speaking for All or Not according to Jack. And behind me, I have Festivus for the rest of us. So I think you know what we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to talk about the miracle of Festivus. And in particular, we're going to have to celebrate Festivus my way. There will not be any feats of strength in this house. No meatloaf, no aluminum pole. Jason did just put up our Charlie Brown tree today. So instead, what I'm going to do, boom, 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 boom. I'm getting to it. Share screen. We are going to do the top 10 of Frank and Estelle Costanza. Yes, long time coming. They are, I'd have to say that they are amongst the best of the ensemble cast. And, as far as I always looked forward to having them on. So we're going to get right to it. But also, what I'd like everybody to do is, as I go through the slides, pay attention to the pictures that I added to the slides. Hopefully, after I go through the top 10, I'll go back again and we'll talk about the pictures. So, all right. So there was a top 10, but we also had to have some honorable mentions. So let's go to the honorable mentions first. So first two honorable mentions. These happened at the same time, and these were in season 4 when they first introduced Estelle Costanza. First one was the contest when she found out that George was jerking the gherkin. Well, she caught him jerking the gherkin. She fell off the toilet seat and had a back spasm, ended up in the hospital. Georgie, get me a sandwich. Meanwhile, George is watching over on the other side of the curtain where this woman's about to give another woman a sponge bath. Hold on, Ma. Georgie, I'm hungry. Great. Little did I know at the time that that was the very first episode where she was introduced, and it was funny. So what did they do? A few episodes later, during the outing, this reporter from the NYU wrote a story about Jerry and George being homosexual partners, and the Associated Press picked it up, and so first Jerry's parents found out about it, then George's parents found out about it, and again, and George runs out of the house, my mother. So then again, she ends up in the hospital again, and he's not paying attention. Instead of the two ladies on the other side of the curtain giving the sponge bath, this time it was two men giving a man giving another man a sponge bath. I can't make it up. So we do have one more honorable mention, and it was a late addition. I wouldn't have added it if it wasn't for. So I was at my lodge last night, and I don't know if I was discussing it with Brother Dom or Brother Uncle Vin. The little kicks. In that episode, not too much happened with Frank and Estelle Costanza, except at the very end, Frank says to Elaine, "Are you saying you want a piece of me?" And of course, they couldn't get through that scene because it was hysterical and they were laughing. But you got it. So yeah, so that's why this one got on honorable mention, aside from Elaine's spastic kicks. Too funny. All right, next. Episode number 10, The Raincoats. that was an episode where the the Costanzas thought that the Seinfelds were their friends, but in reality they weren't, and they didn't accept the Seinfelds didn't accept their invitation to come over for dinner and and eat paella with them. What am I gonna do with all this paella? So too funny. So that was episode number 10, the raincoats. Episode number 9, the doll. Funny in the fact that Susan, George's fiance in season 7, until he concocted a scheme for her to lick some toxic envelopes. Uh, she had this doll that looked dangerously close to Estelle, and George lamented to Jerry, "Oh, it's like going to sleep with my mother." And then at the end, both George and Frank were imagining her yelling at them. So Frank rips her head off and, "What do you think of that now, woman?" Too funny. All right. Episode number 8, the caddy. So, while Kramer and Jerry, they're busy with Sue Ellen Mishke and trying to sue her because of the fact that she was wearing a bra and caused them to get into an accident. Uh, on another side escapade, George is hiding upstate with Susan at the new updated cabin, and so George and rather Jerry and Kramer crashed the car. Steinbrenner saw the car, thought George was dead, visits the Costanzas, and only Frank would do this. He thinks his son's dead, so what does he do? It's like, "What'd you trade Jay Buhner for? He's got a rocket for an arm. You don't know what the hell you're doing." Yeah, they would discuss that again in the very last episode. More more Yankee speak. Okay, number 7, the handicap spot. Frank's very first episode. Only Seinfeld. Kramer suggests that they park in a handicap spot, and basically their lives just go to hell because a woman in the who was handicapped had to park elsewhere, and she rolled down the hill and her brakes stopped and she got injured, and so then they decided to an angry mob decided to demolish the car. So then and then Frank ends up getting arrested. I don't know how the hell that happened. George. So supposedly Frank chased George around with a baseball bat after he hit him in the head a couple times. Um, Too funny. So then, true to the pilot that they were coming up with, he actually did have to be Frank's butler. Too funny. So that was episode 7. Episode 6, a Fusilli Jerry. So, in addition to Kramer getting a New York license plates that read "Ass Man," he also he stopped short with Estelle, pissed Frank off, so they get into a fight, and and what's the heck's his name? Kramer makes this Fusilli Jerry for Jerry because he's silly, and Frank falls on the Fusilli Jerry and protrudes into his buttocks. So then he had to go to a proctologist to get the Fusilli Jerry out of his ass. Too funny. All right, number 5, The Rye, season 7, and Frank. So you have the rooster, the chicken, and the hen. Who's having sex with the hen? The roaster has sex with all of them. That's pervice. But it was very funny because, of course, Frank and Estelle, they took the rye home because they didn't serve them cake. This is Susan's parents, that is. Uh, so then what happens? Kramer's driving a handsome cab ride, and they snuck them out of their house, their condo or what, a townhouse, whatever it was. Uh, so then, uh, so then the horse ended up stinking because Kramer fed it beefarino. And while they're doing that, they're trying to get the marble rye back upstairs, and so George uses a fishing pole to get the marble rye upstairs, and just as he gets it in the window, they Susan's parents catch him. Can't make this stuff up. Episode number 4, the doorman. That's where Kramer and Frank concoct a new invention called the man's ear. First he first he wanted to call it the bro, but it's too ethnic. So instead of saying bro's ear, let's call it a man's ear. And then at the end, the German tourist, does it have a hook? No, it's Velcro. Oh, should give you some good support that you need, Frederick. Funny. All right, episode number 3. The Serenity Now. Selling computers with Lloyd Braun in the garage, and Stell yelling at them off camera the whole episode. Good for you, Lloyd. And of course, George cheats to win, and Lloyd gets fired. But the whole premise of that episode is Frank yelling, "Serenity now! Serenity now!" In any event, you may not know this, but I actually have a grandniece named Serenity. So how about that, folks? Hi, Serenity. Hope you're doing well. Serenity is my grandniece. She's in her early teens, so there's that. Episode 2. This is what it's all about, the strike. Kramer, who never worked, but he actually went back to his job at the bagel place. But everybody else had Festivus for the rest of us. I'll go back and I'm going to go through the slides again and read some of what's being said in some of these little captions that I have. So that's episode 2. Episode 1, there was one episode that was better. The cigar store Indian. What's that? A prophylactic wrapper? Well, that preceded by Elaine saying, Estelle saying, "What's this doing in our bed? What's that? A prophylactic wrapper? You've been Who told you you could have sex in our bed? You're grounded." You can't ground me. I'm a grown man. You wanna live in this house? You wanna go by our rules? You're grounded. Very funny episode. Of course, the subplot with the cigar store Indian was very funny as well, but unrelated to the Costanzas. So anyway, let's go back and look at some of the pictures that I included. So first one is Frank, happy Festivus. It's a Festivus miracle. Jerry, what's the deal with Festivus? Frank again, the origins of Festivus. Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one they had, but so did another man. As rain blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way. Raymer. Happy Festivus. Another Festivus miracle. Festivus for the rest of us. I almost died laughing when Elaine swiped the card out of George's hand. What's this? A Festivus card? Oh, it's a holiday that his father made up. No, don't talk about it. So George got the idea. Said instead of giving gifts in his office, he made a donation to everybody to this fictitious human fund. To celebrate the holiday season, a charitable donation in your name has been made to the Human Fund. Good old George, scheming to save a buck. This is the clan around the dinner table. George, no, rather Frank about to air his grievances. We'll talk about that in the next few slides. Of course, he picks on Kroger. Then he picks on George. Happy Festivus, feats of strength. And then what is that called? The loudspeaker there, or bullhorn, the airing of grievances. Airing of grievances. At the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and you tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the year. Only Frank Costanza. Happy Festivus for the rest of us. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. Last one's the best. The feats of strength. Festivus is not over until the head of the household is pinned. Now stop crying and fight your father. No! Too funny. So that's all we have. So this is Jack Toledano speaking of not only Festivus, but also the top 10 of Frank and Estelle Costanza. That was a long time coming, but here we are. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Festivus. Possibly tomorrow, I'll give you a short video wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. And also just to let you know, it looks like I will be on the ensemble cast of Hudson Valley Squares on Monday night, Boxing Day, December 26th. Hopefully I'll get a chance to talk for a minute or so. Sure we'll have a lot of people on, but I guess I'll either see you tomorrow or see you on the 26th. And in the meantime, I will be recording part 2 of the top 5 by season of Seinfeld. Seasons 4 and 5 coming up. So again, happy holidays to all. Happy holidays.